Let's take a look at this Mitsubishi M008T85271B 24 volt diesel engine starter. So what we're having here is a problem with the engine starting, and when you turn the key, the starter will do nothing. It will not engage, it will not turn the engine. So we have taken it apart, and you have these two bolts which anchor the motor with a cover on the back to its planetary housing. So taking the motor apart, that's the electronic motor part. You can see in here where the brush communicator is. You see we have this brush is good, this one is not so good, this one is completely shot, erased, not even touching the armature, and this one here is good. So even if you play with it, it still does not come forward, which means this whole brush communicator needs to get replaced, or we could change just the brush contact itself. So let's go ahead and see what part we could get to replace in this starter so it could become functional. And what we're looking for is basically a complete brush communicator, or these brushes where we could cut this wire and install the brush and solder the wire back. But that's not something we want to do. We want to get this complete unit. Take off these two screws on the back, these two Phillips screws here, and this whole brush communicator will come out. Then we can replace it with a new one, clean up the armature, and check its contact. This is very good. There's no wear and tear on the armature communicator. With the brush communicator clean, when we take a look, I found this wire here broken from down here. You could see that solder broken, evidence of it. And over here also has the same thing. You see there's another wire here, and that wire is broken from here. So what we have to do is solder these two wires to the terminal. And if you notice, here also have a wire, but this wire is not connected. And here also have a wire, and this wire is not connected. Now when we take a look at the stator housing, you can see it's cleaned up, and it's not your normal conventional stator wire. It's like a solid wire. It's not those frill wire. So this is the part here, these two terminals here that comes off the stator, with two wires soldered in place. We must now remove this brush communicator from its cover and place it onto here. These two terminals here have to be attached to these two wires, which became broken from the stator field. Let's take a look at this self-excite DC motor. Now the most complicated part in fitting this brush communicator back to the armature is getting the brush to seat on the armature terminal. So there are other videos that show you how to fit this brush communicator onto the armature terminal without destroying the brushes or any part. But what we need to know about this motor is that it is a 24 volt self-excite motor, which means it does not have magnets in the case. What we have here is a solid copper core surrounding an iron, and we can see from the 24 volt cable, which will be connected to two 12 volt car battery or truck battery, will induce this copper and iron field, and then that energy will enter the armature from the brush. And this is what able to create the electromagnetic force for spinning the starter. So we do not have a magnetic case and a copper armature. Instead, we have a copper armature wounded, or I say woven around iron, and on the case we have a copper woven around iron, and it produces energy when electricity is applied to the motor.